Trekland HQ on the road, and we're live. Hey, look, it's Star Trek Vegas in my rearview mirror. Yep, episode 273 of Trekland Tuesdays live here with me, Dr. Trek Larry Nemechek, coming at you from the heart of Trekland virtually for some clarity, sanity, and the big picture in all things Star Trek. Yes, I am on the road still, but we're here with you. Escaping STLV, Star Trek Vegas, which was a year like no other. And they're all unique. And by now you're probably seeing some of the headlines from the legit stories, seeing a lot of comments from a lot of the fans that were there, the reactions. I hope we've got folks on with us live, popping in. Right? There we go. Boom. Hey, Jim. Hi, Christoph. Yeah, I think the alerts might be a little slow overnight. But there we go. Hey, if you are stumbling in with us for the first time here on Trekland Tuesdays Live, just introduce yourself in the chat. We have a great audience. We've got a great community. The TTLers are swell. And I'll be really picking into the chat here in a minute. Of course, I always start off with a kind of a soapbox. Can you guess what it is this week? And then we'll take a short break. We'll look at the Parrot Analytics streaming ratings here in the US. And then I really will dive into the chat. So you Twitchers, I'm not ignoring you, okay? But you and the YouTubers are seeing everybody's chat. Remember, if you're on Facebook, you're the biggest group, but you're only seeing other Facebookers, all right? All right. Yes, I am cardless. I forgot to pack the cards, but I bet we'll struggle along just fine without. And if you are on YouTube watching later, glad to have you with us. Glad you found us. And you should try us on Tuesday afternoon, sometime when you can. So, STLV. Yeah. I've been talking about some of my personal highlights for the week. They were awesome. I guess my biggest plan was to, let's start back here. Everyone was wondering how the Bally's thing would work out, and being on 2 floors, and I'm not even sure if a lot of the fans attending got that memo ahead of time. Probably not. And I think a lot of the fans gave up and didn't try. It was an evolution. It was a challenge. And just being in a new place had a lot of the regulars off kilter a little bit. What you expect. I remember the first year we were at the Rio after moving from the Hilton. Everything ran 10 minutes slow. But this was a case of having to deal with elevators, even when they added some express elevators. 2 small stages on the top, the secondary D. Kelly, and then the Roddenberry stage, and some of the exhibits versus the main floor with the main stage and the dealers and photo ops, et cetera, all down there. So that was a thing. I think by the end of the weekend, we decided that maybe as many as from a third to as many as a half never even tried to go upstairs, which is sad because there was a lot of great panels, a lot of great content. I'm not being biased there because that's where I was exclusively between those 2 stages. In fact, I realized at the end of the day that I never set foot out in front or backstage at the main stage. Yes, Conthroat is hanging on with me just a little bit. Travel was crazy. A lot of the folks flying in and driving in from LA, our area, all along the I-15, coming and going. There were flash floods. There were crashes. It was the worst mass driving experience I've heard just from myself and others. But a lot of folks flying in, especially last Wednesday, especially on Southwest, had all kinds of snafus. But we got there. Things were a little crazy. And then, of course, you didn't know things by the back of your hand. So it was a learning experience. But that said, there were so many awesome moments. Now, in my skewed, I hear there were a lot of actors saying a lot of things on a lot of stages. And the big news you all have seen, there wasn't going to be any huge headline because STLV is no longer the licensed convention. So somewhere between their license con, the mission, it'll be Seattle next year. It was Mission Chicago this year. The Reed Pop newly licensed cons are going to be home for a lot of that kind of news. as is San Diego Comic-Con, because it's the big brother of all conventions when you're up alongside the other franchises. And then, of course, we've got Star Trek Day, which is Star Trek's own little bubble, own little platform. And there'll be probably some news coming out of Star Trek Day here in a couple of weeks on September 8th, right? So not a lot. However, it was funny. Jonathan, at one point, someone started to say, so you're directing the crossover episode between Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds. And he resurrected his I signed an NDA t-shirt from a few years back when he famously leaked the news that season 1 Discovery was going to be in the Mirror Universe. Yeah, and then he said something about everyone getting, since this was not an official con, and apparently there was no CBS oversight or Paramount oversight, that everyone got a strongly worded letter about not to blab too much about anything upcoming on any of the shows coming, which was funny. So even short of that, though, there was a lot of time. It was a first for a lot of the actors between COVID and pandemic, and when their shows were premiering or when filming might have, sabotaged their timing as far as being able to appear. That was the thing. But what still shone through was how much there was to do that was not in the creation grid, that was fan powered. It was either businesses and fans getting together or just simply fan events happening. And that, and I think by the first day or two, by Wednesday and Thursday, just seeing how many folks were first timers, and which was great. It was a real testament to how fresh the franchise is. So many people were first timers, or they were second timers, and they'd come to the Rio tentatively last fall when we were like in severe COVID mode. And I should say it was only about 7 to 10 days notice, but they were officially a show your vax record and mask all day long on the convention area. Now, at some point, the hotel, the casino, the bar areas, and anybody's private party were not mask mandatory, obviously. So there's, just like San Diego Comic-Con, there are times when there's so much happening outside the official con area, you almost wonder what's the point of that, although I'm all for it, and I have a personal stake in staying clean, staying negative. But we're already seeing reports, a lot of folks coming home positive. I mean, it's almost like you can't help it. Thankfully, people all were vaccinated. It's an annoyance, and it could be alarming to anyone around them who either, didn't vax up or were unable to, which is the whole point of the concern and the ongoing caution. A lot of folks who aren't able to take the vaccines and would love to be able to. But that said, there were some close quarters at some of the room parties. People have eventually adapted where the Indigo bar was Masquerade, the lobby bar was the I bar, etc. And yeah. Now, I know we've probably got a mix of folks who were there, so I'm going to look forward to seeing in the chat here in a minute about your personal experiences if you were there, or if you were at home and maybe you've got a question about something you saw somebody tweeting, talking about doing streams. But as the week goes on, as the weekend bears on, it's like the free time to say, oh, I think I'll live stream this. You're kind of in a crunch. It kind of goes away as things get more and more manic. And the apex is Saturday, as it usually is at a con, but in a different way. And in most smaller conventions, when Sunday kind of trails off, Sunday at STLV is the frantic time when everything you'd put off, people are cramming in to do. And yeah, people are looking at dealers for deals, but on my end, that's like, who did I not say hi to? Who did I not say hi to? And get around. But that said, it was cool for me. I finally sat down and had a conversation with Doug Jones for 5 minutes. That was nice. Met some of the actors of some of the newer shows that I hadn't had a chance to. Ava Blackwell, for one, had a nice conversation with her. Anthony Rapp, old timer, said it was nice to just wave at Jonathan and Gates, those kind of people who were right down from us. But of course, my main mission for the weekend was, 2 or 3 or 4-fold. One of them, of course, and if you've seen what we've done here lately, I was really, really, really trying to help Andy Richardson Kindred with her book excerpt from her upcoming book, Slavery to Star Trek. Gene Kuhn's assistant. I've been trying to help her promote her book, get a list going. She had 250 copies. I know she sold over 150 of them and signed them. She was awesome. She was right down the table from me. Right next, I was right between Sandra Pillar, yay Sandra, and Tig Notaro's merch table, and then Andy, which was funny. But the highlight in her realm, aside from the constant stream of folks coming by to get books, and the few that wanted me to make sure and grab one, was our hour on stage. It was delightful. It was delightful. And people, the main goal of the weekend was to get her on a stage, which we weren't able to do at the last second 5 years ago when she was back in country. She's an expat American living in Australia now 50 years. So it's not like she can just trundle down to the nearest local con or Comic-Con. So these trips are far in between. And she is 80 and a force of nature. And we got all of this recorded. Hopefully we're going to get some video up soon, clips as well as the whole show in some form or fashion. And she was just awesome. And we wound up, we were not the Roddenberry stage, but the D. Kelly stage. So it was one of those 26th floor stages that people had to get themselves up to. And I think the theaters held 200 to 300 in chairs. When she was done Friday night, when our hour was, we had an hour, which was awesome. It was late in the day. I know it was 26th floor. Yes. But we had an hour. She took every advantage of it, was completely enrapturing, and had people in stitches at times, blew their brains a little bit. We wound up with a full house and probably 50 or 60 standing room in the back. So I was so tickled that we finally got her a platform and a show. And then, of course, we were trying to sell her books too, but just to get that direct line to the 60s, Gene Kuhn and Gene and Majel, and all the 60s folks that she remembered, as well as, yes, her role in the civil rights movement when Dr. King would come to LA to meet with Malcolm X, even Medgar Evers. He was the first to go, sadly. She knew all three of them. She was Dr. King's driver, has some great photos, but so many Venn diagram circles of life that she's just awesome to sit and listen to. And that's why her book is going to be so special. It's called Code Switching from Slavery to Star Trek, the big book. She just had a small, I should have brought a copy in with me. There are some copies available if you stay tuned to my channels. She has about probably 50 or more left over. We'll see what she and her daughters are going to do about distributing the last of them, because she's here for a while. She doesn't want to take all those books back over to Australia and have to declare them at customs and all. So there'll be some kind of a domestic solution for that. So we're all still recovering from the weekend, but I'll make sure and prompt her to come up with a way for folks to be able to get one who weren't there. I was afraid they'd sell out, and some folks had said, save me one, but there's still probably about 50 copies left. And again, this is the preview of her book coming later. So that was amazing. The other thing that was personally cool to me was, and we'd planned for it to be on stage, on the Roddenberry stage, but things got dominoed. There was a lot more programming than there was stage time for various reasons. We got squeezed off the stage. So never say never. We did it at my booth. We did a Trek Files live. In fact, we did 2 of them. And it was so awesome to have John Champion and Jessica Lynn Verdi, who does the femme fatale voice for our introduction every week. They were just recorded 4 or 5 years ago. But we did it live like an old-time radio show. We have a video of all of that at my table. Andy was the guest for 2 of those. So we're going to be back. I'll spoil the beans. I'll spoil the surprise. We're going to be back from hiatus next week. And Andy is our season premiere, but we've already got 3 or 4 in the can for your enjoyment. So I'm excited about that. But it was so cool to have kind of an audience there at the table and have that ambiance of doing it live, like old-time radio. That was awesome. But all the Voyager documentary perk dinner, 60 folks, some of the actors, that was amazing. So many night events that almost eclipsed what was going on the day for me. Mission Logs Patreon dinner was a huge hit. It was great hanging with the Trek movie bunch. if this sounds like it's everything but the legit script of, of what the con had in the creation grid, it's kind of, you're kind of right. But it was fun to see. Oh, the other thing was people coming in late and finding their own way, including Dave Blass, who you all have heard me praise to the hilt the last week, the production designer for season 2 and 3 of Picard, the guy who was a fan himself and now very professional, obviously, and the guy who brought back a lot of the golden greats from the Berman era to work on the art department and gained so much good buzz. The Akutas and Doug Drexler and Jeff Mandel and Tim Earls and Ben Betts on video, and I'm leaving people out. Even Rick Sternbach. There were some homage pieces from Rick. That was great, and we found him a place to roost and sign, and he was our guest for our Portal 47 members live dive meetup. Because that's the thing that's special about Star Trek Las Vegas, and this is what I tried to tell all the newbies that were there. Keep your ears open, because there is so much going on that's not just in the program. There were and my heart goes out to Stephanie Dyson, who's the talent program coordinator. Adam and Gary, Malin and Gary Berman are the nominal longtime owners of Creation and hands-on, and Stephanie's kind of the number 3. She told me one night that in one day alone, they'd had 31 program changes in one day. I mean, that's like, I'll see your script revision wheel and raise you to insanity levels. I asked her if they used color change pages. Did you guys get to the salmon and the buff tint green pages? It was incredible. They gave up trying to print. First time in history, they gave up trying to print a paper program. It was all on the app. It was all only online and on the app, which was why it was hard to keep up with what's flying by. I can't wait to circle back around and see what some of you are putting in the chat when we get back around to it. But that was my advice to the newbies, and I'll say it here: when you get a chance to go to, especially STLV, and I know that culture, but if you can go to any standalone convention just for one franchise, and the larger it is, the chances are that there'll be all kinds of off-the-grid events that are fun. Some of them put on by some of the fan groups, some of them by some of the companies, licensees, if that's the nature of the beast. Some of them combo events like the famously infamous Fan Sets and our friends at Trek Geeks. So Lou and John at Fan Sets and their families, and Bill and Dan at Trek Geeks. A surprise in a new place, and a couple of hiccups along the way. But what didn't happen with a few hiccups along the way this weekend? The upshot was that everybody had a great time. Gaze in Space, Lambda Quadrant, so many groups. Our little we had about 12, 13 in our Portal 47 live dive. Dave joined us for that. Andy was going to, but she did 5 years ago. They got into a logistical hassle. Couldn't make it. But it was fine because, my goodness, the best news of all is, and what was a little bit annoying was, for all the space learning we were making, it'll be back at the Rio next year, thank God. And whatever you think of the Rio, I think a lot of people realize that be careful what you wish for, you may get it. Some folks who have not been happy with I think most people are fine with the convention facilities. A lot of people weren't happy with the rooms, and maybe the rooms needing updating. Well, that's why we weren't there this year, because the Rio is renovating hotel rooms. So let's see how that goes for next year. But even so, people learning the ins and outs of Bally's and where things are, we made it. We did it. We got through. I was sharing the booth with Terrace Cassidy, he and his wife, Christine. We were promoting everything Trekland, obviously, Portal 47 and Trek Files and Tuesdays Live here, and my day treks, but also our big, you've heard me talk about it every week, and we'll start talking about it more and more, and you'll be hearing about it some of your favorite news sites and web places, podcasts. The big West Coast Away mission in next July. It'll be 10 days, the biggest thing. We haven't done a big tour since 2016, but it'll be the biggest ever. And hopefully having at least one actor or behind the scenes person with us every day. So it's the biggest one yet. Start saving your pennies. You can go get the link on my page or go right to Geek Nation Tours. And you can see what else Terrace does. It's not Star Trek, which is the vast majority. So that's my skewed perspective on STLV. Of course, it's just great to see people and friends. And some of my friends and colleagues I see every day were thrown into a different situation. But all the folks from around the country who were there. And, STLV it takes a while to understand this. You're excited about going to a convention as a first timer. You're all about seeing your favorite actors, getting autographs, getting photo ops. All of that is spectacular. It's a lot of line standing. And sometimes things run long and they're frustrating. But eventually you get all of that. You get that, I don't want to say out of your system, but you experience all that. And now you're ready, as we always say, you're ready for the next level. You're ready. You've been around the block once or twice and you're ready to start seeing what's a deeper dive, however you can. And here's a news headline. It's not always just from me and everything Trekland. There's lots of opportunities, thank goodness, these days, where that wasn't such the case 10, 15 years ago. But no, it was great to meet so many new folks. And I would always say, have the best time you can have. I don't know how you're not going to have a great time. Just remember, this is the fake STLV. We get back to the Rio, it'll be the real thing and even more awesome. But never to rain on anybody's experience because, as I always say, you never forget your first, right? I'm probably leaving out some things I wanted to mention. I did put up an Instagram post and an Instagram live last night. And as I say, excuse me, guys, the craze, please follow me, but please follow all the creatives that have Instagrams and Twitters. All kinds of things happen. Sometimes things happen and they go away. You never know what you're going to see online that it might not be there the next day, but follow all the creatives like that. And your experience will be, whether you're at the con or not, your experience will be the deepest dive you can possibly have wherever your center seat is. So yeah. Bally's was not a disaster. We were always a little off kilter. You were always using 20 or 30% of your brain power just to compute how you were going to do your logistics between floors. And I wish I could have taken a poll to see how many folks in the main room, in the dealer's room, how many folks never even went up to the 26th floor, or even without a paper program, how many even knew it was up there? How many times the mention came through to go up? There was signage, yes. We were sharing the hotel. Since the facility space was really closer to the casino area and the front desk, unlike at the Rio, where once you enter that portal, all the convention space is down that you're within your own world. And the only time you mix with the outside world is when you're at the front bars and the registration in the front casino. Bally's was more of mixing. The minute you got off an elevator or walked down one hall, you were more immersed with the outside world, the outside smoking world, the outside non-masking world. So that was a little bit different. I do like the Rio for that. We're more segregated off. And of course, some years we've got 3/4 of the hotel anyway. And bottom line, I should say this too. So many folks were excited to be on the Strip in Vegas. I was never thrilled. A lot of people were excited about the food options and we're close to the other casinos. And we were adjoining Paris, Planet Hollywood. New York wasn't too far away. I didn't care. If you go to STLV and you're thrilled about this is what I told my good friend Kayla at Trek Movie. If you're going to STLV and your thrill is all the food choices, maybe that's not the highest priority for most people. I mean, it's nice to go out, sure, but most of the time you just want to grab something and get onto your next thing without being exhausted and hopefully without breaking the bank. But eventually we found out they're still recovering from the COVID too. There were a lot of slots closed around Bally's. But just being on the Strip was a lot more immediate to your typical Vegas tourist. The minute you stepped outside, you were really plunged into it. And the Rio is such a suburban mall off the strip. I think we forget how nicely isolated we are in our own bubble. And if you do want to leave, you've got all this free parking, like mall parking. And you can pop in if you have a car, you can pop in your car and get away. Or if you've got an Uber, the Uber is not a headache to get to. It's not quite that way on the strip. A little bit crazier. But some people thrive on that. Some people it drives them crazy. That was the thing. I will be glad to leave the strip behind and get back to our old home, the Rio, next year. So if any of you are contemplating, if you haven't been to STLV in a while, if you are thinking about making your first trip, it's always there. And hey, I'm not getting anything from creation here. I don't get a kickback for who goes. But it is unlike, and no matter what you thought about creation over the years, if you're a veteran, it really does transcend all of that. STLV really is like no other. And a lot of folks will still be going to the Reed Pop official cons next year in Seattle in April. And there will be all the bells and whistles from officialdom at Paramount now. But yet some of that icing on the cake, some of those cherries on top, nobody noticed really, because there's still so much to do at STLV. So I can't wait to see what everybody's talking about in the chat. I am on the road, but guess what? After 2 or 3 weeks here lately, somebody was back from vacation at Parrot. Oh, I should, before we get to the Parrots, I do need to say goodbye for all our folks watching us later on YouTube. All right. So I am cardless, so I will just do all of this with reminders. All righty. I do want you to check out, as we start promoting it, the West Coast Away mission next July. That's going to be exciting. You can go to LarryNemechek.com, see the links for that, as well as the Trekland Treks day tours that I'm going to offer all the folks who are cruising the day before and the day after. I need to add this, and I will be open for folks really staying a long time if you want to do a personal self-arranged Trekland trek that I would lead you on one of the adjacent days to that. I'll be happy to do that. That's coming up, and then the big away, big away days mission. I also mentioned, you know what, gang? I don't have my Patreoners here. Shame on me. So I want to thank all of you all that I give the shout out to every week by name. We'll get the card up. You'll see your name here in a minute when we do the YouTube redo. All righty. But if you want to help us as we expand our everything here, Trekland, on live streaming, all these Trekland channels from coast to coast, it's patreon.com/Trekland Live, or Tuesdays Live, $5, $10 a month. It's a very simple Patreon, and we're getting the infrastructure built up to get the archival Portal 47 interviews out to folks too. Anyway, join the Patreon if you can. We're right here at the end of the month. They'll be doing it in a couple of days, so you can still get on today and help us out. Again, $5, $10 a month. Other than that, Trek Files will be back next week with our 9th season premiere with Andy Richardson, Kindred, Andrea. Can't wait for that. Can't wait to hear that. And I can't wait for you to hear how squeeful I was to be recording live and have Jessica and John and us all in there sharing a mic. I can't wait to post some of the video for that. It was a ton of fun. And of course, Andy was amazing. And yeah, that's where we are, folks. If you are watching us later on YouTube, try to join the live show and join in with the chat. It's awesome. So with that, folks, I will just leave you for now with stay healthy, do all the things. We're going to see how many hot spots we had coming out of STLV. Stay woke. Check your sources, please. It's going to get crazy. It already is. And yes, trek well, everybody. All right. Now, you livers, hang on and we'll do the parrots. So it wasn't really surprising. There was a top 10 put out this week. Stranger Things was ahead of the top tens. And if you're new with us, we've been following these basically since Discovery premiered, 2017. It's one company that's trying to bring the concept of ratings into the streaming era because the Nielsen's are no longer pointless. But AC Nielsen has been struggling to try to catch up to the whole no commercials, so who needs ad rates kind of public transparency about ratings. Because the streamers love to keep their numbers to themselves, and only when it's a PR advantage to release something. We're still sitting out here wondering what's popular, what's hot, what's not so hot. And Parrot Analytics 10 years ago came up with 18 years ago came up with the system to measure basically the glorified look of internet buzz from critics, from the studios themselves, from fans. And it's more complicated. That's more algorithmic than that. But that's what we've been watching. They express it in terms of the average show. I'm looking at the top 10 in the U.S. They're in dozens of countries around the world. They're a data giant, and they do consult with a lot of the channels and makers. This week, number one was Stranger Things, 95.5 times more popular than the average show. The top 10 here are a smattering from around the studios. She-Hulk, Only Murders in the Building, The Orville, The Boys, Mandalorian, Cobra Kai, Our Flag Means Death, Ted Lasso, and Titans. Now, Titans is number 10, and they measure on down through. They only post the top 10. But just as a marker, Titans is 25.8 times more popular than the average show. Remember that. Overall, Game of Thrones, for some reason, I guess people are binge watching again, watching with the sequel coming. Stranger Things is the only digital on the overall map this week. Then Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul's finale going by, I guess. SpongeBob, Better Call Saul, Sesame Street, House of Dragon, Saturday Night Live, go figure, Rick and Morty, and The Walking Dead are the top 10 overalls. And what we can do is they do post individual series on 30 and 60-day trend lines. So if this week's top 10 digital only ends at 25.8, just as a marker, well, what do we have? We have Lower Decks just premiered. Now, it was a partial week since these are only from Sunday to Saturday. And the animateds, rightly or wrongly, the animateds, Prodigy and Lower Decks, always are a hair below the Star Trek live actions. So this week, they're at 13.4. Now, Parrot has this bracket where they say outstanding. That is, they have exceptional is the top 2%. Outstanding is below that to the top 2.7, and then good, and then average, and then below average. All the Star Treks are always in the top 2.7%, just so we don't get hung up on scales and ladders and all of that. But no, Lower Decks this week, 30-day trend line ended at 13.4. Still in the outstanding. Its demand change in 30 days was up 0.6%. Okay, yay, new episodes. That makes sense. They are still at 97.6% more popular than the average animation show. Can't beat that, really. But they're still behind the live actions. Even with a hot, with a fresh show, they're at 13.4. Here's Strange New Worlds, which is in decline, 35% down over 30 days, and their trend line is down. But Strange New Worlds is still at 20.2. So more people talking still about Strange New than the new Lower Decks. We'll see what that does. We'll see what happens when Lower Decks hits its stride, has some full weeks, and has some amazing shows. Same token, Picard is still sitting at 17.8 over a 30-day average, even though it's been off without new shows for, 3 or 4 months now. Down 11%, but it was really kind of a flat line on their trend line. So I know we're getting in the weeds here with the math. We always do. But it's something. It's something to keep up with and let us know what's happening. Again, I don't get anything out of Parrot. It's just you can go look, parrotanalytics.com, look at the Insights tab. They have other articles about the industry and streaming versus terrestrial and yada yada, and the different platforms and how they're competing against each other. But that's what we do. So I can't wait. I can't wait to get into this chat and see what's going on. I hope everybody was, hope everybody's doing well. We'll see if we've got any veterans from the weekend at Vegas limping home. Maybe you're still stuck on the 15, watching from your car. There's one dead spot there at Mountain Pass. So, I think I said, yeah. Hey, Jim. Hey, Christoph. If you are new to Trekland Tuesdays Live, I hope you notice that we have a global community here, which is awesome. And you can never get too much of getting out of your American bubble, well, on anything. But even on Star Trek, because the rest of the world gets it differently, experiences it differently. We are all so different, and yet we're all still the same. Let's see. So I'm on the laptop, kids. So cut me some slack. Chuck A. Hi, Chuck A. on YouTube. I feel like you've been with us before, joined us before, but maybe not. So glad to have you with us. Yeah, questions. Questions are always, actual questions are really good. And if you are new with us, speak up. Let me know. First time caller, long time lurker, or something. Charlotte, it was good to meet you, Charlotte, in the flesh. Yeah, here I can. There we go. Boom. It's good to meet you face to face, Charlotte. That was awesome. Coming over as a lifer from our Saturday pod with Ali. Oh, Jim, you were there. Your panel with Andreas. Yeah, I thought it was too. But I mean, she's the awesome one. Yeah. I just wanted to finally get her in front of people and get this. I mean, if it was only about her knowing Gene Kuhn, who died so young in 1973, young in his own age, but young to everything that Star Trek became, the phenomenon. He didn't live to see that. Of course, Andy said, I don't think he would have been too. I think he would have been, okay, fine, nonplussed. But see, that's her memory of him before it was a question, before it was a phenomenon. I wonder if Gene Kuhn would have been that, take it or leave it. Although there have been folks that worked on Trek who were phenomenal, who are very, about it still. Joe Menosky, for one. And Joe is the reason for the 47th season. But thank you. Thank you, Jim. Let's see. Everybody. A lot on YouTube today. Yay. Fuzzy holographic image. Well, I'm on the road, and this is a lot better than the days when I would just have blank white walls with a typing paper sign behind me and maybe Plushy McCoy with me. Yeah, that's you figured it out, Sophia. Hope everything's well in Portugal. That's not a Zoom background, but a Restream background. There's home base. There's Trekland HQ following me wherever I go. So we couldn't do this 10 years ago, right? Let's see, what are you saying? Oh, hey, Roland. I know you've been with us before, but good to see you. Picard, Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks Prodigy. Which show were most likely trending on Twitter on September 8th? Good question. Picard, Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, Prodigy. It's sad to say probably not Prodigy. Although Prodigy might trend if they would just let the damn thing happen. Stop dribbling it out 5 and 5 and 5. I feel so sorry for Aaron and the Hagemans and everybody who works on it. It's like, let their show be seen. They've done like 40 episodes now. Three seasons at least, if not 4 by now. Well, Lower Decks will be partway through the run. Not sure. Picard will be, maybe Picard because of all the TNG reunion hoopla and some of the teasers and some of the debate. Oh, some of the teasers and the debate from Picard. I don't know. That's really going to be interesting. Notice how nobody mentions discovery in any of these conversations. Discovery may surprise us all in the end. What are you saying here, Mona? Never been to the West Coast, traveled other places, but that's a goal. Well, it's good to have goals. It's good to have goals. If you're going to travel, what better excuse than STLV? Then you can, LA is 4 hours away. Arizona, the Utah national parks are there. Or you can fly. It's a hop over to San Francisco and all of that too. So, hi, Scott, and thank you so much for everything. Was Denise Crosby supposed to say that she was in Picard season 3? I think she actually said that before STLV. Didn't she say that like a day or 2 or 3 before, just out there? Maybe I'm in a blur. There were some blooper moments about reveals and things that maybe not should have happened, but I don't think I saw anything lambasting her. She was still enigmatic about it, right? You might see a photo of her. You might see a piece of file footage from Tasha from before. Yeah, at least you're right here, Linda. At least the virus is a lot less virulent, even if it's still contagious. You finally got it 6 weeks ago. See, your son got it bad. See, that's the thing, and people still have different reactions to it. Oh, I'm so glad, Jim. You had a nice moment. Well, how can you not have a great moment with Doug Jones? And Michelle Hurd, I saw her. I didn't get to talk to her, but she was a bundle of warmth and joy the whole time and very on. Yes. Absolutely, totally agree. Good. Yay. Linda, I have not had time to even check. We had delays last night. I'm on the road still, but I am so glad. That's why we need to get those last few books away and then get people on the list to get her entire life memoirs. This was an excerpt from just her Star Trek years, basically, like 250 pages, 300 pages. There we go. But I'm glad to hear that. What are you saying, Mona? The government's sending out all their free home COVID tests, but they expire in early September. Well, get them out there. Yes. Oh, things shifted on me there. Charlotte, I thought so too. I'm a little biased, maybe, but she was amazing. And of course, if you had time at her table, her 2 daughters were there helping. Yes. What are you saying, Scott? Andy Kindred remains the highlight for me, which is saying something, since the weekend also included a Doug Jones hug. There you go. How can you go wrong with that? Oh, you guys. See, I've got you prepped. You've heard me talk about her. Some of you aren't even, the Portales met her 5 years ago, online and then live at Vegas when we couldn't get her on a stage on short notice. So that was like culminating a goal, a drive. That was a bucket list item, to get her on stage in front of people. I would have liked for it to have been the main stage, but that was awesome. And it's on video now, so good camera work. So yay. Yes, and apparently Doug Jones's hugs are not only famous, but amazing. There you go. In fact, some would say, they're legend and they're magical. And they've all been duly documented over the years. Hey, Zahir, you're late, but you're here. You can actually get a mom's note. Okay, well, we're still in STLV mode, so I'll overlook it this time. Sometimes you wonder if Doug hugs everybody he meets in normal live too, as in passersby walk. Yeah, he just randomly grabs people and hugs them. Oopsie, yeah. I'm going to do a thing, gang, where are we here? Boop de doop. Sorry, this is scintillating video, I know. I thought. Road Warrior time. Give me 1 second, gang, because I thought I was good on a charger, but apparently I'm not. And why this isn't charging here, I'm not sure. Let me see how we are. Okay, good. Little Road Warrior tech to get through there. Well, Linda, again, I'll get with her and I'll blog it. I'll get the word out. We will for sure have it by next Tuesday, if not sooner. And we'll have some video bits up of how you can get a copy. Like I said, she wound up with about maybe a third of them left over. She had 250. And they don't want to go back to Australia. So they're going to live here in the States, and we'll figure out the logistics of that. And I'll make sure to share it with everybody as soon as I can. Oh, yeah, Scott. Started reading her book on the flight home, saw the pic of her at a dinner table with Martin Luther King, and had to take a moment to soak in the fact that I had a conversation with that woman who had similarly casual and friendly conversations with him. Yeah, your own little social Venn diagram there. Living history, gang. Living history. I told her our panel with Andy overlapped the last 15 minutes with the Strange New Worlds cast, who we all love, and most of them were there. It's Anson, Ethan, Rebecca, I think everyone but Babs. I think everyone in the cast was there. Maybe not Christina, but and a couple of guests too. But I said, folks, we love them, but you're going to see them for years now. Because she's in Australia, because she's 80, maybe you should take a moment to run up and check out Andy and get her book. If you want to see her live, maybe this is a good time to do it. And maybe just watch the first half of the Strange New World panel. So that must have been what happened. And there was after that hour, there was a tribute to Nichelle. But Andy had said, she talks about how she sold Nichelle the house that she wound up living in Nichols Canyon. And she said, Andy said her ex-husband and Nichelle's ex-husband eventually both married the same woman at different times. So Nichelle said they were ex-wife-in-laws, which is still wacky, but that's how close they were. Well, I know Nathaniel, she was talking also about doing an audiobook, and maybe this would be a way to crowdfund part of it, or she'll come out and do it again, listening to her read the thing in her own voice. She read pieces on stage. I think she read a little more than she was planning to, but anyway. Hi, May. I think you've been with us before on Tuesdays, but hello. You really missed having the printed schedule. So did I. I just lost track. I didn't have time to whip out a phone or a pad and find. I mean, I think the Wi-Fi was okay. Wasn't too stressed, but just digging around trying to read a phone to see the details of arcane programming. It was crazy. And the way they do it by room. There's no master grid to look across at an hour. Creation has never done that. Drives me crazy. I know fans who get the schedule and make it into a grid that you would have, say, at a Comic-Con. But when the schedule doesn't arrive until the weekend before, or never, or the day before, it's hard to do that on the run when you're packing. Maybe you have 12 trunks of cosplay. You miss seeing a couple of actors because you thought that they'd be there on Sunday. It's kind of hard to see what days the stars would be there on the app. I know. Or they would say appearing Friday or Thursday. Well, part of it is things changed on top of that at the last minute. So yeah, it's a little bit chaotic to think I'm going to grab them when I see them. Did I run into Terry Farrell or other familiar Trek faces? I didn't get to say hi to Terry directly. There were a lot that I did. I barely said hi to Max and his wife, Corinna. There are a lot of folks I didn't say hi to. Chase and I only got to say hi to Andy and Jeff Combs at the Voyager documentary dinner. But yeah, I had a bigger plate of a bigger list of personal projects to do. And it was just the layout and how things were kind of crazy. I never did say hi to Vaughn Armstrong, and we always usually have a drink. Anyway, yes, and it is her voice. It's very much distinctively her voice. She was worried about it wouldn't be, and I said, no, it's your voice. There is no right or wrong. Only if there's a confusion factor, and some of us are reading it tried to help her just make sure that if I had a question that she just clarified it. But other than that, the tone and the voice was all her. Yay. Hey, Glenn. It was good to see you, Glenn. You and your mom. Well, then that's a excuse accepted. Everybody needs to learn how to use their smartphone these days, right? Thank you, Sophia. Yes, new Trek Files next week. Excuse me. Okay, thank you, Scott, for doing this. The link to the convention special edition excerpt, memoir excerpt is what they were calling it. I had just looked at it once, but I never used the app, so sorry if it was glitchy. It's their own. It's probably the first year they've had their own app, and they're probably using it at other shows, the shell, because they do Supernaturals and some of the other franchises. Oh, she'll love this. It is eye-opening, her book. Yay. You got an autograph with Dave Blass, had those beautiful. Dave Blass brought some Okudagram medical and cargo stickers from the Stargazer and sold. He had collector's prices on them because that's what they would take. And he had huge stickers this big that he had $100 on, and they were gone like that. The collectors came by, and they'll probably double the price. Yeah. The ship nerds, the graphic nerds. Yep. The Okudagram porn. What are you saying here? Hey, Matt. Good to see you too. It was a total blast and a total Latin of mine for making new contacts for Pranakasha Productions. Woohoo. Excellent. Thank you again for having me on your podcast and so many others. What are you saying here? Excuse me, Glenn. When the convention is back at the Rio next year, I'll make sure to have vacation time reserved. It just wasn't possible this year because of the data center migrations. Okay. Is that like the deer migrations, the winter bird migrations? Is that something that's seasonal? No, it'll also be good. A lot of people couldn't come because this was basically rolling into glorified Labor Day weekend, feeling like. And a lot of people couldn't, teachers, people in colleges and schools that they couldn't get away for any length of time. It'll be good to have it back that first weekend in August again, when it still is summer and people are still free to free to travel. I mean, that was a dent in some of the attendance as well. Wow, it was only the 2/3 of the Sunday, so yeah, it was good to see you. Obviously, not a fan of that app where you're being very, very polite there. Although their printed schedule again is nothing to write home about, but at least it's usable. You can flip back and forth between the stages. STLV is a marathon. The machine starts running every morning, and from there, it's all about when and where can I get away to fit in my next restroom break. Scott, I kept seeing your pictures pop up. You were all over the place, man. Aside from helping me, you got it done. Request that time off now. Yep. Christoph, have they announced the exact date? I think they had. I think it's the first weekend. Bally's was a nicer hotel and had access to much better food, albeit next door at the Paris with the connector. But the Rio's convention space is 100% worth the trade-off. I think so too. Yeah. And again, they've remodeled the rooms now. So hopefully the room issues and people wondering what gurk they were getting out of the plumbing should not be so bad. Hi, Rose. It's good to see you. Well, I'm here, mostly survived. So thank you for checking in. That's good. And the last year, the pandemic took out some of the food options too. So I know the Hash House and its lovely 100-person line in the mornings is not a favorite. I never eat at the Hash House until lunch on Monday after. That's my Hash House day. We'll see. We'll see what the bold, beautiful new Rio looks like next year. Doug, you saw me in Vegas. Did you say hi? Did you yell? Did you come up and say hi? I mean, I'm a blur myself, so I hope you did. Yeah, they've announced their dates. It's like the August 3rd, whatever. It's the first weekend. It's back to being the first weekend of August. I'll just say that. And so when I say weekend, I mean Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Still 4 days. No 5-dayers. Not without the license and filling up the content. Yeah. So apparently, a lot of people were saying this. The doesn't look like there's that much room going on, work at the Rio going on. The convention facilities, I don't think, are the focus. It's the hotel rooms that are the focus. Yeah. Okay, gang. Yes, Susan. You remember this. How did you know that? The Nutter Butters worked out just fine. Yes, indeed. Boy, did I mention that, or you just watch my Instagram? Very good. Very good. Linda, last year was your first STLV? Yes. And then just think you can go again and everything will just blur together in one big cool Trekish pudding of memory. Cool, JR. Terrace is an awesome guy. He's got an awesome company. And those tours he does of all kinds, military, the historical, the gaming, goes to Gen Con every year with 40 people. It's not really a tour. It's more like a, giant hippie van of people all going to the same place. But the Trek tour is an actual tour. Hey, Carl. Yes, I would have loved to seen you there too. Hope the 7th Fleet members who went stopped by to say hello. Did I see any new Trek reference books? Not really. But then I wasn't really looking. But then most of the Trek reference books, unless you mean like old things somebody found in the basement that are obscure, would have probably, the Eagle Moss. Ben Robinson was there floating around and having some meetings with people and saying hi. As a private citizen, not an employee of Eagle Moss, he's always quick to say, still hoping to bring the ship, the put together D, and all the aspects of the ships, and even the book line. Ben said that everything made money. It wasn't a case of the company collapsed because of money issues with the product lines, or at least these. These were fine, and they're attractive, and people want to resurrect them and keep them going because they were money makers. Aside from being beloved, and aside from look at all the series now popping out ships every week. My God, that'll go on forever. They never even got the Picard Borg Vortex fleet on the stages. Dave Blass is still wanting his Stargazer. Yeah. Anyway, and I will miss you at Salt Lake Fan X this year. You and the 7th Fleet, but I'll be thinking of you. My first year not to go in several years. Good. You got up there in the evening. Yeah, Chase is awesome, of course. Chase sang. Bonnie Gordon sang. The computer. She's amazing. She's nominally the computer voice of the Protostar on Prodigy, but she's a great torch singer, great nightclub singer. Use the online PDF every hour, it seemed. Well, if it worked for you, good. Yay. Okay. Yeah, I think this was a complaint too. At the Rio, the Roddenberry stage and the bar are right there in the midst of everything. Well, everything. The 2 small stages and the big stage and dealers are all right there with photo ops and all of that, and the exhibit room. And having to go so far, and then you had to walk through an empty room to get to the front end with the bar and the chairs. Yes. And anytime you sit down, there's something interesting going on and a little more intimate and offbeat. It's just that when you had to get up to the 26th floor, walk to the end of the corridor, what was that, 20 yards, 50 yards, and then walk through half a ballroom to get up to the chairs. Yeah, it wasn't the best. I wish they'd had the stage at the back end. What was this? You literally had one sit-down meal the entire time. Welcome to STLV, everybody. Yes. Was that going in or coming out? Consisted on granola bard and crackers most days. Granola bard, did he have any songs that you knew? Hey, Narda, good to see you out there in the outback. You lucky people. Oh, Narda, someday I hope you can make it over. I know that's a huge pain. Part of what I did feels like half of my Sunday went into helping Matt Miller at Trek Zone, his camera guy, remotely talking to him. We got Andy on Trek Zone and Dave and several of the actors. And after a while, I thought, why am I being so nice? Why don't I go do my own things? But poor guy showed up, and half the people on his list had left already. He showed up at 3:00 on Sunday, 2:30. Half the people were gone, or they were about to leave on his list. So we got him some folks. Yep, that's basically going to pay my food bill at Seattle. Now, what are you saying here, Charlotte? Oh. Is it weird that you weren't all that impressed by the food, but then when you live in the San Francisco Bay Area like me, you're spoiled? A couple of the places we walked to were fine. The Burger Brasserie was okay. This is true, Melanie. The masking is inconsistent. Oh, you're talking about just in general. Kraftwerk show, and then when you all went inside, very few people were wearing their masks after they went through. Yeah, I mean, I get it, it's mask fatigue, but what's going to happen is going to happen. I'm phasing in and out, man. Yeah, it's defiant. Oh, JR, you're very welcome, man. Being able to meet her. Yeah. How can anybody not be amazed to meet her from wherever you're coming from? Okay. Who knew Martha Stewart's restaurant would be so good? But there you go. Yes. A fast call, last call for volunteers just before. Does anyone ever publicly acknowledge them with gratitude when there are complaints? They get perks. They have to work so many hours, but then they get in free. And some people just like, if they're working a line, they're near some of the actors and they kind of have to take responsibility. It's all kinds of things. But Stephanie told me they lost about 30 help right before the con, either because of COVID or, the PR person for Trek Wines was testing to get on the plane and tested positive. He wasn't really sick, but he was tested positive and he couldn't make the trip. They were shorthanded, one guy at Star Trek Wines, which was, I met him at Chicago. So, it's still out there. But anyway, the help, I think they get behind the scenes thanks and maybe a shout out, at the end of things. Thank you, Scott, for putting the link up. There's the West Coast tour. How we doing, gang? How's the end of the chat coming? Are we getting anywhere close? I think the Orville was in the top 5, if not the top 3 at least. For the U.S., Orville was number 4, just so you know. And they've run through all their fresh episodes. 200 stars, woohoo. 200, da-da-da-da-da-da. Yes. Yeah, I think a lot of the volunteers are still working when they have the closing stage bits. And some of them are in one day and gone again. So what you saying, John? Seemed like a fun event. Think for us mostly outside of the West Coast, the virtual con of September 8 Star Trek Days is a more exciting event. Well, that's why thank you, pandemic. That's the silver lining with the prospect of actual news or trailers coming. Oh, that's what you expect, because that's actual hardcore information and visuals versus the family reunion feel of STLV. And, after a few read pops, maybe they will figure it out. And that hopping around the country thing will be figured out. We'll see. But there's something about being in the same place. But having said that, people made it work this year at Bally's. As much as everyone was a little thrown, we're only human. Yes. Hi, Mona. Heard me say I'm on a cruise. Is that the official start cruise or something different? I'm doing day tours around LA before and after the cruise. I'm hoping either this year or next to be on the cruise as a guest, but that's all up in the air. But I'm doing day tours that you can take before and after. Okay. Enjoy Ticonderoga there, Jason. I heard about this. Ron Perlman's panel was hilarious. I even heard a radical moment when he kind of took it over, which I can imagine was completely hilarious the way I heard it. Hello, Marcello. Glad you could get in. It's con throat. It's typical. Considering the fact that I had the tour the weekend before, I was doing really well. I was very proud of myself. Exactly. You're talking all weekend long, and sometimes you're talking over the dull roar. There you go. Yes. They have done amazing things. James has done amazing things with the Star Trek tours up there. Just so you know, what I do is not a set tour. They have a license. What I do are the locations out in public, which by nature are all around LA, aside from now the list that is growing around Toronto. And stay tuned on that. Oh, hello. Odiug83 YouTube. Are you glad you could join us? Is this your first time with us on Tuesday? Thanks for finding your way here. And Ed, congratulations on your vow renewal. Yes. I could not agree more, Ed. And more people do need to hear about Andy. Yes. Absolutely. Hey, Di. Glad you could bop in too. I hope you're not dying in Oklahoma. There you go. And you guys across the pond do get Star Trek Day live, so that's good. Then DST hopefully will not be canceled in Germany also. There you go. If I have Lower Decks 2, Discovery, 4, Picard, 2, Strange New Worlds, which order would you watch them? If I have Lower Decks 2, second season, Discovery, fourth season. Oh, Picard, second season, Strange New Worlds 1. Which order would I watch them in? Well, my Jack Benny is off. I don't know, Rose. I think I would watch Lower Decks last. Just save it as a cherry on top. These are the only real connection is discovering Strange New Worlds, and Strange New Worlds nominally follows the Spock and Pike season of 2, and that's not on your list here. I don't know, everybody else. Anybody else have an answer for Rose there? I would say just watch them in whatever order you want. I really hadn't thought about that. Your prediction is you hope Picard will get a full trailer and will be the star, John. We'll see. It feels like they won't be the next up. Discovery ought to be the next show up, but the news about Discovery just feels like it's gone into a black hole, huh? Absolutely, Melanie. Prayers for Pakistan. Horrible flooding. They had bizarre flash floods around a lot of places in the eastern Kentucky and Las Vegas. There were flash floods happening that closed Interstate 15 as we were driving up. I missed it by an hour. They had the freeway reopened last Wednesday. Do I have a theory about how Tasha will appear in Picard season 3? I have a menu of choices, but I don't have a theory. It could be a flashback. It could be a hologram. You know, it's all the usual suspects. I figure we'll see when we see. And she wasn't castigated, so I guess she didn't do anything out of turn. Jason, do I think the Mission Con in Seattle will try to beef up their panels with more behind the scenes and analysis to try and compete with creation, or just continue to focus on the official things and let creation have their niche? I don't think it's even so much. One thing we've seen partly due to the pandemic is a lot of turnover in employees. What I've seen so far is them not so much concerned about what creation's doing, but just what the rest of their corporation does with their shows. And they are totally happy to announce guests very close in. They lean more to the actors and not the behind the scenes. Maybe this will evolve. Maybe somebody will come to the company who sees that value. But right now, I think it's a lot of the corporate, I even say culture, the corporate outlook, the playbook, and individual people in places, and people turning over every 6-9 months. For Mission Chicago, the year before, there were 2 talent coordinators turned over and 3 dealer people turned over. You'd start off dealing with some person, and 6 months later, they'd be gone. You'd have to get to know somebody else, that's corporate America. It's just off-putting when you're, and they were dealing with the COVID and the delays, and everything was supposed to happen a year earlier. So there's that. But right now, unless we get closer and I hear some more, and I hadn't had my ear to the ground, right now I think it will be, maybe there's been, I think it'll be more if Paramount, if our licensing friends give them notes and say, you really ought to beef this up, if anything, it'll come more from that, I think, than will come from internal analysis, unless there's somebody comes, it only takes one person. It only takes one Dave Blast to pop in there and change kind of the, or take a really good culture and make it awesome, or give it that fan sizzle. Sometimes it only takes one person in the right place to do all that. So we'll see. We'll see. We've got till April, right? There you go. Strange New Worlds in post. Might get a teaser. Discovery is still filming and seems very hush-hush. Thank you, John, for your insight there. I've been so full of my own stuff, I have not been keeping track of the fourth level news there, but there you go. At the last panel asking people to applaud for their favorite Trek, I was surprised by the loud round of applause for DS9. Oh, JR, the world changed. The world changed. Netflix, I say this, and that's why I do What Made You a Fan, What's Your Favorite Now. It's DS9 totally vaulted. People will argue now that it's their favorite Trek, or it's the best Trek, or that it is the Star Trek that has held up the best over the years. So yes, glad to open your eyes there. That's what we do. That's what we do. Exactly, Matt. The worst part of COVID these days is just having to be quarantined and not knowing who around you might really be at risk. You think the trending topic will be lower Strange Picard, new Prodigy Dex? Okay. I think I agree with you, Glenn-ish. Mm-hmm. Oh, I see what you're saying. Tasha or Sela hologram. Yep. It's all there. It's all right there on Five Alive. Yeah, 3D imaging. Well, Matt, I'm sure they would love to have you. You should not go in acting like you've got big corporate budgets, though. Make them deal with you as a fan business, fan level. Aw, if you combine Andy's smile and Doug's hugs, you could you could heal all the ills in the world. Charlotte, I think you're onto something there. Maybe a co-production. Matt, that's totally within the realm. Vaughn Armstrong used to play his ukulele at our communicator table when we had the fan club, when we paid him to come in and sit. One last prediction: the new show will be announced. The post-Picard slot? Could be. Could be. Will it be Section 31? Will it be the Academy show? Will it be a third one that you never mentioned? It's for all the Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner fans out there. Okay, lots of love for Doug here. Oh, are you the only one that thinks there's no need nor reason for Denise Crosby to come back? Well, is it Denise Crosby coming back, or is it Tasha Yar coming back? And I don't mean that. I mean, if it's stock footage, if it's a hologram, if it's CG'd, repurposed, and revoiced, if you're thinking Denise Crosby, yada, yada. I don't know. Maybe someone has an answer to that. Star Trek Hollywood, the quest for making the next movie. I did ask if anybody really, there were about 5 people that were worried about poor Star Trek 4. Maybe a Sela, but definitely not a Tasha. Well, again, what's the context? Is it historical? Is it just a hologram holodeck? Instead of saying, doctor gave me a new kidney, you want to say, Doug Jones gave you a nice hug. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oops, did I read it here? Can't wait to read her story. Yes. Boy, I'm way behind, guys. Can't believe Andy Kindred is 80. I know. I know. It is amazing. Uh, Ex wife in laws is now a thing. Absolutely. A real thing, even. Her voice is really entertaining, yes. And remember, we did that hour was at the end of the day. I know she was a little tired by then after signing and talking to people all day long. Terry Farrell wants to be in a new show. Well, who doesn't? That would be awesome. That was probably a wise move, Matt. You can read the room. So good on you. Yeah. Because people do need their downtime. There you go. We would have it no other way in her voice. Yes, Dave Blass was like a kid again. He definitely was. He was so happy to do the work and bring those people in. And yeah, and it's so simple. And some of the other funky stories about like the 10 Forward pop-up bar, like, we're going to scrap the set. Just take it. Why rebuild it? We're about to trash it. Star Trek the mashup. Mm-hmm. Oh, that would be like a giant hologram somebody's playing, like Dal on Prodigy. It would just be a trainer. Terry running 11 backwards. Okay. Your room at the Rio last year was awesome. Yeah, I mean, I always had okay rooms. Every once in a while, there'd be something funky, like plumbing broken or something. Okay, everybody, I'm looking for questions. Questions. Hmm. Well, Charlotte, I'm the same way, Charlotte. But the difference, but the strip versus not strip is the strip is stressful. The parking is insane. You're paying for parking. It's free at the Rio. If you want to bop in and bop out on that side of town across the freeway, the 15, everything is so easy to get in and out. And we have no elevators to deal with, really. Your own room elevator. Other than that, you're not having to elevate for programming. So, yeah. Which I think we're agreeing then. You're thinking that Section 31, which is going to depend on Michelle's schedule, and the Academy are probably further down the line, thinking maybe they will spin off some of the cast from Picard and go, well, we will see. We will see. A lot of the cast who are no longer involved for one reason or another, like Allison, has her normal life and lots of things to do, which is why it was kind of interesting to see her involved in this in the first place. Bonnie sang and I missed it. Oh, double. Well, she had 3 or 4 venues she was at, so you really missed it then if you missed all of them. I know, Scott. I don't think this is one of my greatest hits. I don't think this is not that's not destined for the hashtag stack. I don't think. Star Trek pudding, no. Okay, gang. Yeah, $6 for a sip of water. No water jugs. No water. They're always very cagey about attendance numbers, and they like to talk about like body days instead of absolute people, because some people come for all 4 days, some come for 3 or 2 or 1. You know, it's very tricky. I'm going to say it was more than the last COVID shortened crew. But the main room it was less tickets sold. They kept selling out because the main room, which drives the tickets sold, was smaller than the Rio main room. So 5,000. I don't know. Yeah, well, it definitely was smaller than small recent years because the main room was way smaller for capacity. Sounds like an assault course. Hmm. I don't know. I don't know. I wonder if somewhere in the vastness of social media, someone's going to talk about how many steps a day they did. Uh, okay. I have friends in Seattle too that I used to stay with when I came to Emerald City Comic Con. Ron Perlman will always be Hellboy. There you go. You got the super sexy con throat growl. Yeah, yeah. Okay, gang, what are we up to here? There you go. Tim will be determined to humanize anything, even a licensed small startup con. Duly noted, Glenn. Duly noted. Well, yeah, we can wonder about all this. Rico, hey man, good to see you. Yes. Oh, have we been? Are we being invaded now? Here's Anne Marie. Okay, okay. um, oh, Andy set. Whoops. Andy sat. They're on the front. Andy sat next to you before a panel and told some great stories that had nothing to do with her Star Trek. Yeah, yeah. That's why her full book is going to be amazing. Yes, you helped a lot of folks with your scouting videos, Anne Marie. I didn't get the chance to see anything afterwards. You too, dear. You East Coaster. Thank you. Thank you for the thought. We think Scott, Dr. Dave and you probably kind of monopolized Dave Blass at the Portal get together. He didn't give any spoilers, but he clearly enjoyed talking about the biz and what it's like to work on modern Star Trek. I know. I'm catching up on what the modern industry landscape is versus what I knew really well from the '90s world. That's why I want to get the current script coordinator. It's the world of not using paper for scripts is so wacky there. Maybe get on Twitter, ask him to bring his guitar. There you go. Okay, are we officially at the end of the chat? Yay, we're at the end of the chat. Okay, guys. Hope we can cut that out. It's good to see everybody. Wow, we had so many on that were at SCLV this weekend. So thanks for sharing all of that. Spread the word. I'm so glad so many of you enjoyed Andy. Sounds like she's got some audience for her book, the Remains, there when we get them the last few copies. We'll let you know about that when I'm back home and safe and secure. Sorry for the Tholium web effect here, but I think you guys get it. I couldn't have done this 5 years ago. Um, anyway, it's so great to see everybody back with us here on Tuesday. Can't wait to see everybody in all our different venues down the line. Star Trek Day is going to be the 8th. I'm not going to be there live because I'm in Janet's surgery bubble by then, and not going to be heading out into the world for the last few days beforehand. So, unfortunately, I'm going to miss it live. So I'll be right there with you all watching it streaming. Yeah. So check out everything. Again, Trek Files is back next week. Yay, next Tuesday by this time next week. And I'm going to go home and rest a little. Got things, some things to rest for, and some things are just cranking up, like the big tour next July. So it's so good to see everybody with us. Once again, I am cardless, but just to let you know, thanks to all of our Patreon folks. Here's the title card. Everybody, thank you, everyone that's on there. There's too many for me to do it by memory anymore. But thank you so much. $5, $10. It's the end of the month. If you want to jump on, this is a great time to do it. Patreon handles it. They take it out. It's very simple, and I appreciate it. We're slowly expanding Trekland broadcasting or narrowcasting or whatever the hell you call this, streaming. And yes, thank you all so much for being with us again Tuesday. Everybody, hey, what am I feel like I'm forgetting something. We'll let you know about Andy's book as soon as we have something. It's Larry Nemechek on Twitter. It's Larry's Trekland on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. And on Facebook and Instagram. We've got some fun stuff coming from the con we're still going to be posting on the socials. When me and Scott and Kyle all catch our breath, we'll have some more fun videos and things up. Other than that, gang, please, 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 as we're seeing still, stay healthy, do all the things, stay woke, check your sources, and Trek well, everybody. Oh, hi, Lionel. Glad you could make it. You seem to be a new one, a new TTLer. Join us again, too.